and welcome to WRPB and WRPB Studios. Okay, so you wake up in the morning and you're feeling a little run down, and what's the first thing you go for? Okay, you don't have to tell me because I see it on my Facebook every day. If they don't get that first cup of coffee, they're not going anywhere, and you don't want to talk to them. My wife is that way. Till she has her first cup of coffee, you don't want to talk to her. You can really get as much as you want out of her when she's finished the whole pot, which is 8 cups. Okay, with me is Jim from Googan's.
Yeah, the Googan coffee shop.
The Googan coffee shop. Okay, so my question to you is why? Why'd you open that?
So, looking back about 30 years, my wife and I met in England.
Oh, okay.
And so, you know, she had visions of grandeur and coffee back then when we lived over there, both in the military.
No tea?
Yeah, always a little bit of tea.
Okay.
But, you know, at the time I didn't even drink coffee.
Okay.
But there's, you know, after you run a shop a little bit, you find that there's a lot of the ladies want to do a coffee shop at some point in their life, a coffee truck, something. But my wife and I were very fortunate. We ended our military and first responder careers.
Oh, we got to stop. Thank you so much for all you've done, and thank her.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she did 20 years, actually. I did 7.
What branch?
We're both Air Force.
Okay.
Yeah.
We met at the chamber, basically,
yeah.
and you know Frank Labruti,
Yeah.
Lieutenant, a 4-star general.
Yeah.
So I'm very close with him now.
Oh, man.
So, yeah. And I call him General when he gets mad at me, okay? Because I didn't know that in the military, if you're close to someone, you get they give you a code name.
Oh, yeah.
So his is Rhino. I can't call him Rhino. I have to call him General. He gets mad at me. But he gave me the code name of the professor. And every time,
I like that.
And he sent, my mom passed away, he sent me a letter, and in the letter it says my name and then in parentheses, professor. But he's a great guy. But you people, I believe that it's you guys that allow me to do what I do. And that's the blessing that I have. So taking time away from this, it was important for me to say thank you.
Well, I appreciate that.
Okay,
Thank you.
So I caught you up in the middle.
No, that's all right.
Okay, so you were in the middle. She did 20 years.
Yeah, she did 20. We ended up in Nevada, Las Vegas, Nevada. We had some businesses that we were doing and had nothing to do with coffee. It was service industry, basically. We were providing some training to first responders and whatnot. We did that for almost 20 years ourselves.
Wow.
And then we sold that, moved to Hobe Sound, and then we bought a nice-sized boat. We made some good friends. We're going to the Bahamas and whatnot. And she's like, this is kind of overrated, this retirement thing. Let's do something.
She is so right.
So what we did was we looked around and we found this one spot. Used to be a Dunkin' Donuts that ended up closing on the north end of Stewart. And a realtor got us in there. And we started renovating about a year ago today. And,
oh, wow.
It took us about 5-6 months. And the funny thing, I was telling Phil before we had in the green room, he said, make sure you tell the story of how we came up with the name.
I wasn't up to that yet, but I get that because it's not your last name.
No, not at all.
Okay. All right. Well, since you brought it up, how did you come up with that name?
So a little backwards on the story, that what we found out is not running a restaurant. You should come up with a menu and what you're going to serve first and build your restaurant around, your business plan around that.
Okay. That makes a little sense.
No, we didn't.
Okay.
We're visionaries here. We're like, let's just build this cool spot and then kind of figure out the menu at the back end of it. So backing up to the name real quick. So we built this thing, and it took us about 5 months, long days. We're figuring out how to do a restaurant, scaring the crap out of us. We're like, oh my God, what are we biting off here? But we built a really cool spot. You'll have to come see it one day. And we did everything. Furniture, the decor, it's wonderful. We found some business mentors through the chamber and whatnot, and they put their arms around us. And we didn't know what we were going to name it, though. We kind of left that one off. We're like, hey, finally got the menu, got the whole layout going. We don't have a name for this thing yet. So pause the story here. So when we moved to Florida 7 years ago, we bought a house on the water and had a boat sitting in our backyard. Just sitting. We didn't have a lift yet, so it was just sitting in the water. And so I go take off on a business trip, and when I land, I get all these text messages. And the text messages says, hey, Dad, you sunk the boat. What do you mean I sunk the boat? And they sent me all these pictures. We sunk the boat. So we sunk the boat. And our neighbors were calling us Googans. And a couple expletives that go with it.
Right.
Like, hey, you guys are Googans. City dwellers are newbies to the water.
Right.
Idiot fishermen, that's what that means. And we didn't know. We looked at each other like, what does this mean? Oh, this ain't good. So our neighbors are calling my son, who was a freshman at South Fork High School, they're calling him a Googan for a little while. And he lived with that nickname for a little while. So fast forward 7 years. And so we now built the restaurant, which is now known the Googan. And Andrew is in the Navy overseas in Japan. And through all the things that are going on in the U.S. right now, he couldn't come back. So he was left out of the whole build-out. And everybody in the family built this thing except Andrew. So we said, hey, buddy, we love you. We really miss you. But you get to name the company. And we're going to call it whatever you want. And he, without a second delay, he's like, call it the Googan. So that was it.
So he had his hand in it.
He did, yeah.
You know, so I know that Phil had his book signing by you.
Yeah, that was fun.
And I'm trying to figure out if I was sick or if I was in D.C. visiting my daughter or if I was dealing with my mom who passed away around the same time.
Oh, man.
And I don't remember which one it was, but I've been to most of his other book signings. You know, he's part of this family here.
Mm-hmm.
And we are about loyalty and supporting one another.
Oh, right.
That's what we do. All right, so now you open this up and you make, first of all, you're crazy enough to open up a restaurant style place.
Right.
Okay, I was in the bar business in
yeah.
Jersey, and I was going to do it here, and I was smart enough to not. So you make a menu. Do you build the menu around coffee, or do you build the menu around food products?
Coffee. Absolutely coffee, because that's what my wife wanted.
Okay.
Yeah, so whatever I wanted, it was whatever she had. So we did coffee. She loves teas. And so then we realized that with the footprint of where our space, we have a drive-through, which is we're the only family-run coffee shop with a drive-through from what we found 100 miles north, 100 miles south, all the way to Tampa. You can't find anything other than the big corporate chains that have a drive-through.
Right.
So we basically just took advantage of the space, and the community went around us and just embraced us. You know, the politicians, the school boards, the schools, the mom and pops, the grandparents, the kids, every demographic has come in. And what I was telling Tanya, what we did in our previous businesses is we're pretty successful in what we did before. And it was one key environment. It's how you make your customers feel when they leave your presence, when they leave your restaurant or whatever you're doing, like your business here. I'm sure you get repeat business because of how people feel when they leave.
Yeah, they're part of this family.
That's it. And that's the same concept we have.
And we were talking before. Look, we have bills to pay. We're entrepreneurs.
Right.
But it's not always based around money.
Right.
You know, for me, because we're in marketing and video, Mary owns a bagel shop, comes in. She just opened it a week ago, and I'm just saying, and she doesn't have the money.
Right.
So she does the video, which is an asset she can have forever. She doesn't have the money, so I have to do something.
Right.
I'm not comfortable if I don't do something.
Right.
So I said, look, here's the price. What can you afford? Well, I can afford this. All right, so you pay this, and then you pay me off the balance in the next 30, 60, 90 days. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat tomorrow, obviously. Thank God I'm blessed. But I started this business. It wasn't a business. So it was very, very difficult for me because nobody helped me.
Right.
But I get it because we are the most advanced video company on the Treasure Coast that's privately owned.
Right.
So I get it that you now have a drive-through that most privately held companies that do what you do don't have.
Right.
So more important than that is, do you make hot chocolate? Because really, because I'm not really a big coffee drinker, and I hate tea. And that's my mother's fault. I hate tea because when we were sick, it was always tea and toast, tea and toast, tea and toast. So you got to hate tea. So I hated tea. My wife loves tea, and she loves coffee. She was sick, and she used to drink 8 cups a day.
Wow.
Then she got sick and stopped drinking coffee and went to tea. Now she's finally back to drinking some coffee again. What makes your coffee special?
We don't do our own roasting. What we decided long ago is, somewhere along the time we started rebuilding and opening, we decided we weren't going to do roasting, which it's pretty profitable if you can figure that side of the business out. But we teamed up with Oceana Coffee down in Tequesta, very well known, and then also Roasted Record in Stewart. So we actually source our coffee beans from both of those companies, keeping it local, and that seems to work out real well.
Okay, so I don't know a lot about coffee, so you're going to educate me for a second. for me, I know coffee two ways: decaf and caffeinated.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's not really it, right?
Yeah, there's a bit more to it. The biggest thing right now that's the hot topic is cold brew.
Yeah,
Cold
I
brew.
see that now.
Yeah,
So, is that coffee that's made like coffee and then just iced,
yeah. Yes and no.
or is it brewed cold?
It is brewed cold. Just like think of tea where it steeps in basically, but there's no heat to it. So if you ever put your ground coffee, real small fine grinds in your espresso machine or even your Folgers coffee, it sees heat. So anytime it sees heat, you're extracting a high level of acidity that comes out of that. With cold brew, it just sits in room temperature water for about 20 hours. It just sits in a big bucket and it just steeps. There's no heavy acidity that comes out of it. So a lot of the times when your stomach gets upset in the morning, you know,
Is that acid?
yeah, it's more acid. It's a
Interesting.
little lighter on your stomach. So.
You know, my wife is a chocolatier.
Oh, yeah,
We
yeah.
do high-end chocolate.
Oh man.
Okay, and we do some coffee with coffee bean and coffee flavored chocolates. All right, you guys know we do a lot of chocolates with alcohol. I know you guys know it, but our coffee. How many? I mean, is there different flavors of coffee? I know there's different strengths, right?
Well, your cold brew I was just talking about has a bit more kick than your normal caffeine or normal cup of coffee.
Really?
And believe it or not, your lighter coffees have more caffeine than your darker roast coffees. You would think it was the other way around, but
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, there's single source, so you get a coffee from a green coffee bean from say Costa Rica or Bali, and those come in giant bags of green coffee, and then they go to the roaster, and then they do their thing, and then what spits out at the end of that is, it's usually award-winning coffee, like out of Tequesta, the Oceana, and these local roasters, they're amazing at what they do. And you say, I want a little more wood, I want a little more chocolate flavor in it, and they'll knock it out for you.
That's really interesting.
So
Okay, we're gonna skip over coffee and
Yeah,
tea for a second.
sounds good.
And now you have a menu.
yeah.
What's on your menu?
So first and foremost, we grew up on biscuits and gravy.
Southerner.
Oh, Indiana, actually, southern farm
My
boy
wi-
from Central Indiana.
Okay,
yeah.
my wife is Canadian, but she lived in Indy when I met her.
Yeah.
Indiana, somewhere by the track.
Okay.
Because I remember her saying how much she always had to get out of her house around race time because it was a nightmare.
Oh yeah.
Okay, she can hear it from her house. So, but okay, so biscuits and gravy.
Yeah. And then my mother's recipe of breakfast pizza. It's a croissant crust, and then you just put all your different toppings on top of it.
Okay.
We have these really kind of high-end convection microwave ovens called the Mary Chef or a Turbo Chef, they call them. But you basically put your toppings on them. 60 seconds later, you have something that tastes like it's homemade. And people come back
Interesting.
for it day in, day out.
So, first of all, my wife loves biscuits and gravy,
Oh, yeah.
but I don't. I don't like biscuits,
Okay.
okay? But I love croissants.
Oh, yeah.
So, I come in, what do I get on the croissant?
You can get the croissant with basically anything you'd put on an omelet. And then you can cover you can put on a croissant. You can do the hash brown, any kind of breakfast meat, cheese, chicken, vegetable, whatever you want.
Egg?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So now you have a menu, and what else is on that menu?
Well, there's one thing. There's local sourcing. We actually found this.
Okay.
This is a fun little story. So we have our own ovens, but I didn't want to be a bakery where you have all the flour and the mixers in the back. So we found this cool little bakery, little home bakery down in Hope Sound called Sweet Thing. And I walked into his little shop, and he's got these 6 to 9 ounce cookies that are the best thing in the world. In fact, when I was in the military, some guys would go find a beer, some guys would go find the bar, whatever. I would always go find cookies, go wherever we were. So these cookies that are down on Hope Sound at this little bakery called Sweet Thing, I walked in, and they're like, these things are absolutely incredible. I said, you guys are doing a great job. Will you consider wholesaling with me with this new coffee shop idea? And then he basically said, get out of here. Get out.
Really?
Yeah, he was so protective of his very high-end cookies. He didn't want anybody copying it. That didn't fit his business plan. So I kept going back to him, and he finally relented. He's like, you betcha. All right, you'll be my only wholesaler that we support, and I'm not really giving you a break on price here, but we'll make them for you. You can bake them in your shop. So now we pick up dozens and dozens of these pre-made cookies that are frozen, and we cook them in our shop. We call them gookies.
Okay.
And there's actually a social media place called, what is it, on Facebook? This Stewart Ladies, Stewart Moms. I
Yes,
think. Stewart
I'm in that group.
All right, so if you go on Stewart Moms, it's a pretty foreboding group. Like
Okay.
if you get them angry,
Yeah.
watch out, you're done. I've
Okay.
actually heard through the grapevine that they've closed a couple restaurants down.
Oh,
Just
wow.
because they don't like them, and they'll team up and they'll close it down. Nobody will go.
Wow.
So we watched as a few of their representatives came in, and they were like, "Hey, we're from this group. You better show us what you got." And let them try the coffee, showed them around a little bit, and they were impressed. But then we put that gookie out in front of them, and their eyes lit up. And we had reviews, and we've had no nonstop business looking for those cookies ever since they walked in.
So, I guess they liked the cookies.
I don't think that's the right word.
Okay.
It was almost a religious experience for them.
Well, I'm going to tell you this that I've learned over the years.
Yeah,
Even though he has brick and mortar,
yeah.
he's still, in my eyes, like a cottage industry. Okay? And nobody makes better stuff than cottage industries.
Oh,
So if I drive across the state, I won't go to a corporate
Right.
store to eat.
Right.
I'd go to little mom and pop.
yeah, absolutely.
You're not going to get anything as good as that. And people come to us for chocolate for the same reason. Because everything's custom made. We're not a Kilwins or Godiva. We don't stock anything. Okay? We make everything fresh. And we use the best ingredients. At places like yours and places like the cookie place, they use the best ingredients
Oh,
because
yeah.
we have to stand out.
Oh, yeah.
And we have to be consistent.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, what's the growth for you guys? What's the next step for you?
So, my wife says, "Hey, stop telling everybody what you're doing until you get it done," which is a smart thing. But just open the door up a little bit. Some of our plans. So, since our brand is doing so well, people are understanding what a Googan is, and it actually fits really well with the Treasure Coast, our colors, our menu, and there's really no scalable coffee shops with a good menu in and around the Treasure Coast. So where our opportunities, I think, are coffee trucks next. I think we're going to see a coffee truck in probably the next 3 to 4 months.
Well, I wanted to ask you, for what are your hours?
7 days a week, 7 in the morning until 7 at night.
Okay. So you mentioned the cookies. Do you sell like cakes or pies or stuff like that?
So our other desserts are muffins. We have a big overgrown muffin. I think we have about 10 different styles of those. And the cookies, we actually have 6 different kinds of those. One thing I also left off was it fits an all-day pallet. Is about a 1 pound breakfast burrito.
Oh,
And
wow.
Those things are incredible. So,
Yeah. I already gained enough weight.
oh yeah.
Um,
But that's really
because-
simple.
And the
menu.
reason I say that is because in Jersey, there was a place called the Inkwell. And it was a coffee house.
Inkwell.
It was an old house.
Mm-hmm.
And they served simple stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But they were open really from the afternoon all the way till like midnight.
Right.
And we used to go there.
Right.
Get a piece of pie and coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would get the hot chocolate. They made the best hot chocolate anywhere, and the reason being is because I found out, because a friend ended up working there, they put butter in their hot chocolate.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Well, I might have to steal that one.
Okay, they put butter in the hot chocolate, and
Huh.
that is why the hot chocolate was the thickest, creamiest hot chocolate you would get anywhere.
Wow.
So that was really interesting thing. All right, we're getting to the top of time. How do people find you? You have a website?
That's GooganCoffee.com.
Uh-huh.
Or you can come by anytime.
Where are you
7
located?
days a week. We're in the LA Fitness Plaza, just over the Roosevelt Bridge in Stewart, north
the
end of
east side.
Stewart. So if you're shopping up near Target, we're about a 30-second drive to the south of Target, right there. LA Fitness is a
Right.
big. It's our big. What do they call it? The anchor of our little shopping
Okay.
center.
That's on the east side of one, right? You
It's on the east side, yeah.
have a phone number?
772-742-7123 is our direct line.
Okay. I've said it a million times, over and above when I always said always use a pro. Kind of use the company that's local, okay? Because you have something to go back to, okay? And that's what keeps us going. That's what keeps these small businesses are really serve the best stuff, give the best customer service, and keep us going. Everybody, check them out. I want
Hey.
to thank you for coming on.
It's been a pleasure.
Everybody, have a great day, and we'll be right back.